White Beam, to me, is a very intriguing upset possibility. She should be 4, 5, 6 to 1. Thank you for visiting Past the Wire TV, the YouTube channel of PastTheWire.com. As promised, the Thorograph Numbers and Patterns for the test. 3-year-old fillies at Saratoga going 7/8 of a mile. Always get some fast horses in the test. Always an exciting race. It's on Whitney Day, one of the 2 biggest days of the meet. And we got the Thorograph Numbers and Patterns for you. And if you've been watching this, starting from the Oaks, where we had Pretty Mischievous as a horse with a forward-moving pattern, Derby, Preakness, Belmont, Haskell, Thorograph Numbers Patterns have been spot on. The mistakes that have been made, or the miscalls that have been made by me, not by the Numbers and Patterns. If you interpret them correctly and read them properly, they tell a very important tale for the outcome of a horse race. So we are already in the mood. Saratoga Saturday Whitney Day show is out. There's a great interview with Kerry Bryan that you kind of need to see. You know, she was on the bad side of a non-DQ earlier in the meet that we talked a lot about from a trainer's perspective. I think you'll enjoy that on the Saratoga Saturday show. We check in with Blake Dutrow about White Barrio and how he's doing for the Whitney. We talk in detail about the Whitney. But this show is the test by the Thorograph Numbers and Patterns. So we'll be back in a minute and we'll go through the field.
Tracking trips with Pick 6 King Jonathan Stettin. It's one of the best tools in horse racing for any level of player. It's your second set of eyes, spotting troubled trips, betting angles, track trends, horses to watch and favorites to fade, 10 figs, ticket structure, and more. At Tracking Trips, you're a friend with benefits. Not a member? You must hate winning money. Join Tracking Trips now. Visit PastTheWire.com and we'll see you in the winner's circle. Remember, nobody does it better.
Frankie Dettori. Ciao, Frankie. Tutto a posto.
Tutto a posto. Yes, that's a good start. So you haven't lost your Italian.
Frankie Dettori, legend, world-class jockey, one of the best ever to sit in the saddle, ambassador to the sport of kings. Meet Frankie during his fanfare like never before, only on Past the Wire TV.
Classic. Vino Rosso has taken the lead. And it's a vintage performance by Vino Rosso.
Hi everybody, Dan Oman here with some exciting news. DRF Formulator, the gold standard in past performance information, is now free, exclusively on DRF Bets. Join DRF Bets with the promo code WINNING, get a $250 first deposit match bonus, a $10 free bet, and free Formulator already uploaded to your account. Access Formulator's premium features, including sortable trainer stats, race replays, personalized trip notes, and lots more. Free Formulator, exclusively on DRF Bets.
It is here, the big day, the day almost all of us in horse racing wait for, Breeders' Cup Saturday. It looks like we're going to see some really, really impressive races on Saturday. It starts with the filly and mare sprint. One of my stronger opinions on the card is Goodnight Olive to start things off. I think she gets a perfect trip.
Goodnight Olive. 6 in a row and a Breeders' Cup champion.
We've got Modern Games going in the Turf Mile for Godolphin. The Godolphin and Aidan O'Brien horses, we said on Past the Wire TV all week long on the backside, those two contingents stuck out from all the rest. Modern Games looking for a big race from him.
Modern Games storming down the center of the course. Modern Games, a two-time Breeders' Cup winner. You bet he is.
That is Rebels Romance, who in my humble opinion is one of Godolphin's better chances this year. Rebels Romance is a very, very good looking Godolphin horse that can absolutely win this race. Rebels Romance is a must use.
Rebels Romance rolling on the outside. Warlock got it. Makes her bid down toward the inside. Rebels Romance down the center of the course. Has it close to home. Rebels Romance wins the turf over Stoney.
We got Flightline that they're putting in the best ever category. There's no question that the race he ran in the Pacific Classic is one of the best races we've seen any racehorse run ever.
It is Flightline. It is spine-tingling, jaw-dropping, awe-inspiring, Secretariat-like Breeders' Cup Classic win.
Okay, we're going to start from the rail with Pretty Mischievous on the cutback. And on the rail, cut back on the rail. I don't know that that's an ideal scenario, but when it comes to being fast, we know she's fast from the previous shows. Let's look at her 3-year-old numbers. We got 4.5, 4.5, 1.5 in the Kentucky Oaks, then 1.5 when she comes back and pairs that number in the Belmont race. So you've got paired 4.5s, paired 1.5s as a 3-year-old. If you go back to her 2-year-old year, you've got 11.25, 11, 12, 8. You know, nothing really to write home about. Not bad, but nothing really to write home about. But this is a filly who really stepped forward at 3. And I mean, I don't like the rail and the cutback necessarily, but as far as a horse moving forward, if she gets a trip, 4.5, 4.5, 1.5, 1.5, she's got 2 strong paired numbered sets in a row. Heading into this, she absolutely looks like a filly that is sitting on in my opinion, monster race. Now, number wise, again, not wild where she's drawn, not wild about the cutback for her and the way the race shapes up, but this is not a handicapping show, really. This is a show based on the Thorograph Numbers and Patterns. That's one very important tool in the arsenal. Moving to the next filly, clearly unhinged, shipping in from the West Coast. She's going to have to bring a lot more speed with her for Michael McCarthy than she showed out there over here in order to compete with some of the faster ones in here. But she did not run at 2. She ran at 3, 6.5, regressed off that to a 13, 6. You know, first look indicates, you know, could regress. maybe maybe not though, because maybe she ran that decent 6.5 first time out, regressed off that, bounced back to that, went a little ahead of it. So maybe she's just getting good now and going to go forward again. Forward enough to win, big ask. You're talking a minimum of 5 points forward, which is not impossible for these 3-year-olds. We've seen them do it in some of the earlier shows. But I don't know. I would say a forward move is more likely than another regression, but forward enough to beat the fastest ones in here, I'm going to say probably not, but she is probably sitting on a forward race. Tappin' Josie. Tappin' Josie's got a lot of starts in comparison with some of these other horses. Let's just look at her 3-year-old year alone. 12 3/4, 9 3/4, 6.5, 6.5, 9 1/4, 9 1/4, 9. Now comes to Saratoga. She's got those 3 9s in a row, and I think she's kind of leveled off at around that. She was running faster earlier in the year, and maybe those races took a little bit out of her, and she's running a lot, so she's had really no chance to regroup and go back to those 6s. But even if she does, not fast enough. Jersey Pearl, interesting and nice patent for Darren Miller. As a 2-year-old, we got 14.5, 12, goes forward, comes back on the synthetic at Turf Paradise, runs a 12, goes over to Churchill Downs, makes a big jump forward, runs a 4, pairs that 4 at Ellis. This is a filly on the improve. 4, 4. I could see a 2. I could see a 1. That puts her right square in the game. She's faster than Clearly Unhinged right now. Both of them look like they're going forward. I don't know. She's definitely got a forward moving pattern. She's coming back relatively quickly, but she's doing good. So forward moving pattern. We call it like we see it. Interpolate, a horse that I liked a lot last time. Disappointed. I thought she got a really good setup last time and just really did no running at all. But let's look at her on the Thorograph Numbers and Patterns. As a 2-year-old at Saratoga, 14 3/4, nothing to write home about, but jumps forward to an 8.5 at next start at Aqueduct in October. As a 3-year-old, she starts at Parks, 13 3/4, nothing to write home about, jumps to a 6 at Aqueduct, runs the race that caught my eye, a 2 1/4 at Keeneland. I thought she was going forward and heading in the right way. Maybe didn't have enough time. Bounces or regresses, and we did the bounce regress show with Jeff Franklin, which is up on the channel, so you can definitely check that out, and I encourage it. If you want to understand the bounce and what it means and learn some other interesting Thorograph angles as well, check that show out. But she goes from that 2 1/4 to a 7 3/4. My take is that 2 1/4 knocked her out. She bounced, didn't have enough time. She's coming back quick now, but I think she's eligible to go back to that 2 1/4. That's not fast enough. She's going to have to run a little faster than that in order to win this race. But she had that forward moving pattern. It's in her. It's Chad Brown, dangerous. I would say the pattern is more iffy than screaming moving forward, especially in comparison with some of the others. But if she does go past that 2 1/4, which is possible, dangerous. Not sold, but dangerous. Darth Vader. This is a horse that's been running very good and very consistently and surprising in some big spots. Changed bonds recently, and has to go forward to win, but keeps surprising and showing up. Let's look at her overall pattern. We got 26 1/4 first time out, ain't setting the world on fire there, 17 3/4, 13 1/2, 13 1/2, then goes forward at Tampa to 7 1/4. Comes back at Tampa, first time 3-year-old, 17 3/4, then makes a big forward move at Gulfstream, runs a 4, regresses 7 3/4, comes back to the 4, which is a pattern we talked about on the bounce show, and relatively common pattern after that regression, and then goes forward a little the next time out to 13.5. So what does her pattern say this year? We've got 17 3/4, 4, 7 3/4, 4, 3.5. I think that after that regression, she kind of bounced back, went forward again. I think that another forward move is possible, and she doesn't have to move forward a lot in order to win. So I think she's on the fringes of being a player in here. Now, money's gold. We already know she's fast, and flat out number wise, she's run the fastest race of anybody in this race. Can she go back? Well, maybe. Anybody thus far. First time out, smoked them and super fast, runs a 0 1/4 first time out at Monmouth as a 2-year-old. So already she showed everybody I can motor. Comes back as a 3-year-old, 6.5 first race, 0 1/4 at Tampa, equals the 2-year-old number in the second start. Regresses significantly off that at Churchill Downs and runs a 5. Comes back at Belmont, runs a 6. Now, doesn't look like she's really going the right way, but she's got that 0 1/4, and we know she's fast. And, she had a couple of hard races. So I would say that if she does go back to her fastest race, she's absolutely a contender, and one of the fastest horses, if not the fastest horse in the race. But her pattern does not scream that, because she regressed. She come back, didn't get time, and regressed again. I'm not wild about her pattern coming into the race, but I am cognizant that she can motor if she's on go. And Pletcher at Saratoga is usually on go. Now we come to the one that's run the fastest race of anybody in the race, and that's a Maple Leaf Mel, who now goes second time for Melody Giddings, owned by the coach himself, Bill Parcells. Well, there's the coach in our game, Wayne Lucas, but Bill Parcells is the coach in that other game, pro football, NFL. Let's look at her numbers, because she's freaky good. 8 as a 2-year-old, back-to-back at Saratoga, okay? And we love the horse for course angle, okay? Comes back at Aqueduct as a 3-year-old, 3, goes to Pimlico, 3, comes to Belmont, and really shows everybody what she can do in the first start for Melanie Giddings, and runs a 1 1/4 negative number. So you go down, 3, 2, 1, 0, and then -1, -2. So it just gets faster and faster. And once you get into the negative numbers, you're talking about really, really fast quality horses. So she comes back relatively quick off that -1 1/4. So her pattern, 3, 3, 1 1/4 negative number. She hasn't leveled off yet. She hasn't, given us enough information to say, she's leveled off and now she's going to, for sure regress. She could just be that freaky good, and she could just be the type that, which we've seen, she can regress and win. She can run, 1 negative, 0, 0 negative, even a 0 or even a 1, and that she's still square in the mix of this race. So this is a filly that can go either way, forward or backwards. And if it's not dramatic backwards, she's still a contender. If it is, then she's not. But she can also go forward again. And if she goes forward off the 1 1/4 negative number, then the race is for second. Even if Money's Gold shows up with her best, and even if Pretty Mischievous overcomes that rail and cut back, and a lot of times I like the cut back, I just don't like it for her on the rail. But and she is a Godolphin, so we know how they do in big races, and Brendan Walsh has been on fire. But this is an interesting, very, very fast, potential star filly. So we'll see which way she goes off that monster race on a relatively quick turnaround. So let's review the Thorograph numbers and patterns for the test fillies and see what we like. Super good pattern on Pretty Mischievous, definitely screams going forward again. Clearly unhinged, looks like she's going to go forward again, but has her work to do to go forward enough to compete with these. Tapping Josie does not look like she's going forward. Jersey Pearl does look like she's going forward and doesn't have a long ride to get competitive with these fillies. Interpolate is a little bit more complicated. Has a pattern that could possibly go either way, but if she does go forward and go past her 2 1/4, definitely a contender. Questions you got to ask yourself: does she have the right trainer to do that? The answer is yes. Does he point for Saratoga? The answer is yes. Will she get the pace set up and kind of trip that she needs to do that? And at a quick look at that race, the answer to that question is likely a yes too. So although she doesn't have a pattern that screams she's going to go forward and can go either way, I would say more likely goes forward and runs close, or maybe even better than that 2 1/4. Darth Vader, George Weaver Barn, very, very steady. I have a feeling has kind of leveled off, and that's kind of her best. But the new barn is always interesting. She's got a good pattern, but again, it tends to me to be indicative of a pattern that's kind of a filly that's at her level and maybe going to maintain it for Weaver, but maybe he can improve her as well. So she's a bit of a question mark, as is Money's Gold. Money's Gold, we know has that 0 1/4 twice. She goes back to that. She's as fast, or just about as fast, almost as fast as anybody in the race, except for the bottom horse, Maple Leaf Mel. But her pattern doesn't scream going forward. So Pletcher's going to have his work to do to get her back to her best, I think, especially with Maple Leaf Mel in the race, who, in my opinion, has a pattern that we could see a bounce off of, because she's coming back quick off a new top, but it doesn't scream bounce. And I'm more of the opinion that she can go forward, or at least maintain, or maybe only regress a little bit and still be a major player here, even with the quick turnaround, because she just hasn't bottomed out yet, as far as we can see. She's got 3, 1 1/4 negative numbers, so that's a big jump forward, but she's just getting better and better. And sometimes these horses do that. So until we see her bottom out, I don't know where her bottom is yet. So I can't say that screams a regression. And again, a regression or a slight one still makes her a contender. So I think she's going to run pretty close to what she did. And if she does happen to go forward, then probably bye-bye. But we'll see. It's an interesting race, and we've got to factor in the pace scenario. At a quick look, it did look like there was plenty of speed in there, but there were 2 races that tend to show speed hold. The Met Mile and the Test have always been races to me that, even when there's a lot of pace, a lot of times it just seems to turn out that the horses just don't come back. And I guess it's the quality of the horses that point for those 2 races, and the type of horses we see in those 2 races, and quality speed holds and doesn't come back. So we know that. So anyway, check out the Bounce Show with Jeff Franklin and yours truly. You will definitely like it and get a lot out of it. Check out Saratoga Saturday if you haven't already. We've got opinions on 3 of the stakes. I didn't talk about the test there because I figured we would talk about the test here. And you can make up your own minds based on, my review of the patterns and the numbers and your own review of the patterns and the numbers, and then, applying the other tools in your arsenal as I will do. Questions, comments, we love them. We answer them. The feedback on these shows has been phenomenal. I hope that keeps up. We're going to do the Travis for you. If there are any other races before that or after that, you want to make sure we get on the calendar, let me know. Thinking about doing the Breeders' Cup Classic. That's a really crazy week. I'm probably in California all week for the Breeders' Cup. So, I'm not promising I'm going to do that one, but we're going to try to. We're definitely going to do our annual Breeders' Cup seminar. You can count on that. But if there are any other races before then, specific races you want me to do, put them in the comments or put them in the comments. That's the best way to get it done. And we'll see what we can do to accommodate all of you. So thank you for tuning in. Go enjoy the weekend. Go enjoy the races at Saratoga. We've been hot on tracking trips at Del Mar. We've been holding our own at the spa, but not what I would like. But at Del Mar, we almost got a bomb home in the last race the other day. That was a meat changer, game changer. Big price horse. Ran a big second, but couldn't close the deal. But we'll get one eventually. It's just a matter of time. So tracking trips, check it out. If that's it, have a great weekend. Enjoy the races. Ciao for now. Does it better.